find us when he comes.
Awake and ready.
And when he asks us to dedicate our lives ever more perfectly to him, how shall he find us?
Awake and ready.
And we begin with a prayer, call responsive prayer. Bring our hands over the heart. And please repeat after me. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Friend, beloved God,
Friend, beloved God,
Gurus of self-realization,
Gurus of self-realization,
Lord Jesus Christ,
Lord Jesus Christ,
Krishna Babaji,
Krishna Babaji,
Hari Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswarji,
Swami Shri Yukteswarji,
Gurudeva,
Gurudeva,
Paramahansa Yoganandaji,
Paramahansa Yoganandaji,
Saints and sages of all religions,
Saints and sages of all
we
religions,
invoke thy blessing.
we invoke thy blessing.
Guide us this day
Guide us this day
and every day
and every day
with the awareness of your presence.
with the awareness of your presence.
Help us to realize
Help us to realize
that we are never alone.
that we are never alone.
Guide us silently
Guide us silently
through our daily practice of meditation
through our daily practice of meditation
and through our divine intuition.
and through our divine intuition.
Guide us.
Guide us.
Om.
Om.
Peace.
Peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Through many lives, I've drunk the cup of laughter. No man could tell the pleasures I have known. The stars in the endless sky, if one could count, would come to billions. Yet as vast as are their numbers, so many years I've wandered far from you. Yet as vast as are their numbers, so many years I wandered far from you. Through many lives, I've drunk the cup of sorrow. No man could tell the bitter tears I've shed, the drops in the endless sea. If one could count, would come to billions. Yet as vast as are their numbers, so many years I've wandered far from you. Yet as vast as are their numbers, so many years I wandered far from you. Through countless lives, I've sought your cup of sweetness, found other cups, yet thirsted evermore. The stream from the hills of time, all found their way into a desert. Every noon a bright fulfillment, ere many hour did sink to evening gloom. Every noon a bright fulfillment, ere many hour did sink to evening gloom. I long for you in summer and in winter, only for you. My heart thirsts day and night. I've learned that the sweetest songs ears ever heard were but your echo. Lord, at last, fill me completely, for nevermore I'll wander far from you. Lord, at last, fill me completely, for nevermore I'll wander far from you. Sing with me on the refrain. Lord, at last, fill me completely, for nevermore I'll wander far from you. Two more times. Offer it to God. Lord. Now let's meditate on the quality for the week, immortality. You are not your body. You are not your thoughts, your desires, your changing personality. Your body has a certain age, but you yourself have no age. Your body may tire or become unwell, but you yourself, the fatigueless soul, cannot tire, can never know disease. Tell yourself always, I am a child of eternity. Don't be identified with your outward form, nor with change, but live in timelessness. It is our identity with change that creates the illusion of passing time. Feel that through all outward changes, you, the immortal soul, remain the same. Death itself will be but one more change. Be not identified with it. Then when death comes, you shall rise in eternal freedom. Using the affirmation now, repeat after me aloud, softer each time. I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless, I am deathless.
I am ageless, I am deathless.
I am the changeless spirit in the heart of all mutation.
I am the changeless spirit in the heart of all mutation.
I am am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless and deathless.
I am ageless and
I am
deathless.
the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation.
I am the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation.
I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless, I am deathless.
I am ageless, I am deathless.
I am the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation.
I am the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation.
I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless, I am deathless. I am the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation. Now mentally repeat, I am a child of eternity. I am ageless, I am deathless. I am the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation. I am the changeless spirit at the heart of all mutation. Wherever my body travels outwardly, Lord, let me feel thy changeless presence within. Wherever my thoughts take me, Lord, let them return always, like prodigal children, to find repose in thee. Oh, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. We'd like to welcome you all to our Ananda Sunday service. We have Keshava and Tyagi Ram, myself, conducting service today, and my lovely wife doing a reading from the Bible and Bhagavad Gita, Dikshina.
This is week 49. What is it to fail spiritually? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. The first passage is from the Gospel of St. Matthew, chapter 25. Jesus tells the parable of the 10 virgins, 5 of them wise and 5 foolish. They await their bridegroom, the Christ consciousness. The wise virgins keep the oil in their lamps, symbolic of their devotion, lit through the night. The foolish virgins placed no oil in their lamps. These foolish ones are like the average devotee going through the motions of outer ritual, but keeping no fire of love burning in the heart. When the bridegroom's coming is announced, the foolish virgins realize their mistake and hasten out to purchase oil. During their absence, the Christ consciousness comes and embraces those who have been awaiting him with devotion. The foolish ones, by their lackluster devotion, are not accepted by him. Watch therefore, Jesus told his listeners, for you know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. In Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yogananda describes the foolish virgin consciousness he encountered in the Mahamandal hermitage he stayed in as a young man in Benares. I was pleased, he wrote, that my new home possessed an attic where I managed to spend the dawn and morning hours. The ashram members, knowing little of meditation practices, thought I should employ my whole time in organizational duties. They gave me praise for my afternoon work in their office. Don't try to catch God so soon. This ridicule accompanied one of my early departures toward the attic. Later, during meditation, I felt lifted as though bodily to a sphere uncircumscribed. The Master cometh today. A divine womanly voice came from everywhere and nowhere. This supernal experience was pierced by a shout from a definite locale. A young priest nicknamed Habu was calling me from the downstairs kitchen. Mukunda, enough of meditation. You are needed for an errand. The Divine Mother's words were not spoken for the benefit of that priest, the foolish virgin, but for Mukunda, the wise virgin. For this was the day his guru Sri Yukteswar came to him. Grieve not, friends, if you feel that you have been foolish. No error is forever. Someday, if you keep your lamp lit now, your opportunity will come. In the Bhagavad Gita, the 6th chapter, Krishna promises every devotee, Arjuna, none who works for self-redemption will ever meet an evil destiny. Spiritual failure, though a deep disappointment, is always temporary. Eternal hellfire is but a projection of vindictiveness in the human mind. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Now we have the reading from Whispers from Eternity in Keshava.
Morning, friends. I would like to read Yogananda's prayer, My Guru. As Dikshini described in the reading, Yogananda talks about the day that Divine Mother came to him and said that his Guru was coming. And so I'd like to read his words on his beloved Guru, Sri Yukteswar. Thou light of my life, thou camest to spread wisdom's glow over the path of my soul. Centuries of darkness dissolved before the shafts of thy luminous help. As a naughty baby I cried for my Divine Mother, and she came to me as my Guru, Swami Sri Yukteswar. At that meeting, O my Guru, a spark flew from thee, and the faggots of my God craving gathered through incarnations smoldered and blazed into bliss. All my questions have been answered with thy flaming golden touch. Eternal, ever-present satisfaction has come to me through thy glory. My Guru, thou voice of God, I found thee in response to my soul cries. Slumbers of sorrow are gone, and I am awake in bliss. If all the gods are displeased, yet thou art pleased, I am safe in the fortress of thy pleasure. And if all the gods protect me behind the parapets of their blessings, yet I receive not their benedictions. Thy benedictions, I am an orphan, left to pine spiritually in the ruins of thy displeasure. O Guru, thou didst bring me out of the bottomless pit of darkness into the paradise of peace. Our souls met after years of waiting. They trembled with an omnipresent thrill. We met here because we had met before. Together we will fly to his shores, where we will smash our planes of finitude forever and vanish into infinite life. I bow to thee as spoken voice of silent God. I bow to thee as the divine door which leads to the temple of salvation. I bow to thee, to thy master, Lahiri Marshaya, harbinger of yoga in Benares, and I lay the flowers of my devotion at the feet of Babaji, our supreme master. So, we have a fun topic this morning. What is it to fail spiritually? What's interesting is every time I've told someone what the topic is, they'll go, oh, what a heavy topic. But to me, it's actually one of great inspiration, because what is it to fail spiritually? I've been thinking about this question a lot. And in the parable, Jesus talks about the wise virgins and the foolish virgins. And the difference between them is simply that the wise virgins keep oil in their lamp. And Yogananda talked that The oil represents devotion of the heart, and the lamp is our hearts, that are the flames constantly burning for Divine Mother, for our Guru, for God to come to us. And the foolish virgins, Yogananda says, are like those who think that outward ritual alone is sufficient to win God's love. And they perhaps perform outward rituals, but without any devotion, and so therefore it lacks no power. And when the Spirit descends, they don't have the devotion there to receive that Spirit. You know, like it said in the Bible, to those who received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God. That receptivity is so key in the spiritual path, and so key in anything that we want to do in life. But to fail spiritually means, in essence, to close ourselves off from the light, from the Guru, from God, from Divine Mother. And that can seem like a little intimidating at first, because to think of keeping the lamp of our heart constantly lit seems like quite a high bar, does it not? Even to the point where Swami Kriyananda would say things like, I feel the bliss inside of me at the presence of my master that's with me day and night. When I sleep, I have it. When I wake, it's there. And I kind of thought, my God, I got a ways to go. But it doesn't matter how far we have to go. What matters is that we're trying. God watches the heart, not the mind. That you can be thinking all the most beautiful thoughts to Divine Mother and God as you want, but if the heart isn't there, God will not respond. But similarly, if the heart is earnest and sincere, God has to respond to you. God must respond. There's a beautiful story of it's some story of India that apparently an angel, a very high angel, was called to God, and God said, okay, I want you to go to earth and find the greatest devotee. And the angel said, okay, great, I can do that. That sounds like fun. So he zips down to earth, and he's scouring the earth, and he finds under a tree an ascetic, someone who disciplines their body in the name of God. And the ascetic's standing there with his arm over his head, and he's been there for the last 30 years like this, and his arm has become all withered. And the angel looks and says, and my God, and he goes to the ascetic and he says, sir, how long have you been doing this? And he says, I've dedicated my entire life to ascetics in God's name. I have disciplined myself. I have denied myself all worldly pleasure in pursuit of divinity. And the angel goes, my God, this guy really truly must be the greatest of all devotees. He sacrificed everything in the name of God. And as he's returning back to heaven, somewhere in his route home, I'm not sure how intercontinental galactic traveling works, but somewhere in the way, he comes across a young man trying to build a fence. And the young man is drunk, and he's stumbling around trying to get this post into the hole in the ground, and he can't even get it in, and he's cursing and he's yelling. And as the angel gets closer, he realizes that the young man is cursing at God. And he's cursing at God for not being able to put the post in the ground. And the angel's like, excuse me, you really shouldn't be doing that. I don't know if you know this, but it's rude to speak that way to God. And the young man doesn't really pay him much heed and keeps going. And finally, I'm forgetting a little bit of the details, but they get into a conversation, and the angel says, well, I'm here on earth looking for the greatest devotee of God. And the young man says, oh, well, so if you know God, when you see him, tell him that he needs to come and put this post in the ground. And the angel goes, oh, all right, okay, great kid. And flies back up to heaven, and there comes before God, and God says, so, who do you think is the greatest devotee in all the land? And the angel says, well, I met this wonderful man who's been sitting under a tree for the last 50 years in your name. And God says, never heard of him. Did you see anybody else? And the angel says, well, there was a young man who was yelling your name and trying to put a post in the ground. And God says, oh, Abraham! We talk all the time. And the angel says, what? You've never heard of this ascetic, and yet you know this man who's drunk and a lazy lugabout who can't put a fence post in the ground? And God says, oh yeah, he's constantly talking to me. And I'm constantly talking to him. And the angel says, this just doesn't make any sense to me. How can this man be a greater devotee in your eyes? And God says, well, let me prove it to you. Here's what I want you to do next. Go back to these two people and tell them this and exactly this. Tell them that I will come to them after I have fit 1,000 elephants through the eye of a needle. And the angel thinks, okay. So he goes back down to earth and he finds the body taming ascetic and he says, I have a message for you from the infinite Lord. And the man says, what is it? He says, well, the Lord of all creation says that he will come to you after he has passed 1,000 elephants through the eye of a needle. And the man says, what? What is this lunacy? And he stands up enraged and says, this is it, I'm done. And stalks off and leaves the spiritual path and becomes a worldly man. Because he says, how could anyone think to fit 1,000 elephants through the eye of a needle? This is preposterous. And he abandons the spiritual path and goes and becomes a materialist. The angel goes, wow, I wasn't expecting that one. And so he goes to the young drunk man and he says, I have a message from you from the infinite Lord. And the young man becomes very attentive and says, what is it? And he says, well, it's a little strange, but God told me to tell you that he will come to you the moment he has passed 1,000 elephants through the eye of a needle. And the young man bursts into joy. Tears streaming down his eyes, he begins dancing in ecstasy through his field. And the angel says, did you hear me properly? I said the moment he fits 1,000 elephants through the eye of a needle. And the young man says, but he who is infinite, who has created all, can surely pass 1,000 elephants through the eye of a needle before I can even think the thought of it being done. So therefore he is with me now, and he has been with me always. And God doesn't mind our faults. God doesn't mind our failures. He minds our indifference. So watch your heart first and foremost. Call to God. Give God your failures. That's what Krishna says. He says, give me your meditations, give me your prayer, give me your devotion, but if you can't do that, give me your activity, give me your deeds. Give everything you do to God. Make everything you do an offering at his beloved feet. But if he says, if even in this you fail, bring me your failures. Because nothing offered at the feet of the divine is ever rejected. And whatever you give to Divine Mother, whatever you give to your Guru, he will transform into gold and will empower you to become the sons of God. In life, we have so many obstacles, so many challenges, so many things that we think we cannot overcome. But those are merely to make us grow stronger. Yogananda said that God created temptation, like sex, money, alcohol, drugs, to make us grow strong in ourselves, not to make us fall, but to show us our own strength. Yogananda said, if you want to become a strong boxer, you box against strong opponents. We have strong opponents in all of our lives, and they're all our own. So never give up hope if that boxer hits you hard. Because, as Yogananda said, you and danger are brothers, but you are danger's older brother. You are stronger than all things. And if you give God even your failure with sincerity, he will give you the power to succeed. I'd like to close by reading this beautiful letter that Yogananda wrote to a disciple. And it's unclear who he wrote it to, and in a sense I think that makes it all the more beautiful. Because he didn't write it to one person, he wrote it to all of us. Be you a disciple of Yogananda's or just a disciple of God, a child of God, he wrote this letter to you. And so I would like you to, let's close by sitting on the edge of our chair or sitting upright and close your eyes and feel inwardly in your heart that these are Yogananda's words coming to you. There is no time and space, and his presence is here with us as much alive as it ever was. And he cares as deeply for each of you as he did for the man whom he wrote this letter. He writes, "You must never lose courage. Divine Mother sent me to pilot you out of the clouds of your mind. Everybody's difficulty is different, and he or she has to win that test of karma. Overcome all by constant inward calling on God and utmost devotion in words, thought, action, and obedience to Guru. Your troubles I do not mind. I will never give up my job about you. It is better to conquer one evil and not live with it forever. Never for a moment identify yourself with momentary flashes of error. Have no fear even though I am gone from your visible eyes. You will never be alone. I may scold you then, but I shall be ever with you now through Divine Mother and guard you from all harm, and will constantly whisper to you guidance through your loving self. So do not become discouraged and tired, but ever be interested in working for Divine Mother, no matter if war, sickness, death dances around you. Be cut to pieces, but never give up. Be like the divine leech. Suck at the blood of wisdom, even though torn to bits. A smooth life is not a victorious life. And I will give you lots of my good karma, so you will get through. I will not only ever forgive you, but ever lift you up, no matter how many times you fall. Keep unceasingly trying to conquer. Not only will I invisibly help you, but too visibly through many here. I am not building a mansion for you or giving you riches which will perish, but I am making an imperishable home with all riches in my Divine Mother's mansion. God bless you all. Tara's brave is so quiet the day I came there. Not a green leaf stirred on the air. Not a bird did proclaim ancient grandeur and fame. Only ruins, faint memories declare. I marvel to think, how can greatness e'er die? How can song disperse in the sky? How can hopes and dreams fade? How the warrior's sharp blade become dust? Was victory a lie? I stood there and pondered the great deeds of man's past, how like clouds in the sunset no glory can last. Even we, as we labor to achieve some bright end, must accept after glory that the night must descend. I've dreamed a broad rainbow over thicket and thorn, over crags that call linger, your hopes are forlorn. All too often my dreaming courage turned to despair, till I learned that success is but the courage to dare. As I gazed and thought sadly of Tara's demise, suddenly I saw her walls rise, saw her long regal halls, heard her people's brave calls, as though time had doffed a disguise. And I knew in that moment the deeds that men do never die, each victory is true. Every effort we spend gives more strength in the end, till our gladness in life's ever new. Every effort we spend